when it comes to the Cowboys, there are some important things that are happening. I was on yesterday with Sean and RJ on 105.3 The Fan. We talked about the issues facing the Cowboys. We talked a little bit about the firestorm that Sean created last Friday by saying what he said on the air. For those of you who haven't heard it, here he is from 1 week ago with a comment regarding the team's supposed feelings about star defensive player Micah Parsons.
I have heard from way too many people this offseason. Way too many. I'm talking about at least 4 different people that Micah has worn thin there. Now, I don't know how much is true and how much it actually hurts. I don't know whether this is the behavior of a typical superstar. I don't know how damaging it is, but all I do know is this. I've heard from way too many people. If Micah Parsons was out of there, there'd be a decent amount of people inside the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco smiling or breathing a sigh of relief. That is my hot take statement that, to me, is really close to factual about just dealing with him.
Making that take from Sean Sharif more compelling is the fact that 105.3 The Fan is the Cowboys' flagship radio station. They have the relationship. Jerry Jones is on there twice a week during the season. Stephen Jones is on at least once a week. And it will cause some to think that in some way this was planted by the Cowboys. I don't think it was. I think they have the freedom to share whatever they want to share, even if it might make the Cowboys upset, and they're not doing the bidding of the Cowboys. But the other side of it, Charean, it has that whiff of legitimacy that if the Cowboys don't believe it, I think it makes it incumbent on them to find a way to say this isn't true. They've got their own website. They had no qualms about taking some comments from C.D. Lamb and twisting them into something that they weren't. And I know the guy who wrote it is still mad about it. Sorry, you twisted his words into something that they weren't. Yeah, you put some qualifying language deeper in the article, but at the top of the article, you twisted his words into something that they weren't. They could have posted an item saying Sean Sharif is incorrect. There's nothing about Micah Parsons that's wearing thin. And my big takeaway is he's Micah Parsons. If he's wearing thin, you better thicken your skin because he's a generational talent, and you deal with whatever it is that he's saying or doing that is causing you to become offended in some way because he's good enough. I mean, we talked earlier about the excuses that get made for guys who commit crimes. This guy hasn't done anything wrong. He just isn't afraid to speak his mind, and he said some things that may rub people the wrong way. So what? He's not 53 on your roster. He's 1 or 2 on your roster.
You think about all the troubled players, Mike, that Jerry Jones has signed or traded for various off-field or in locker room problems, from Charles Haley to Greg Hardy to Demetrius Underwood, Alonzo Spellman. We can Tank Johnson, Pac-Man Jones. We can keep going here. I mean, there have been a ton of them that the Cowboys have signed. Rolando McClain. The Cowboys have signed and put up with. Micah Parsons isn't that guy. He's a great player on the field. He's done nothing off the field to give you any sort of concern as far as we know. He's not in the headlines off the field. All he does is he goes on his podcast and he talks about the teams. That's what players do now. So if you truly have a problem with this, and I don't know if they do or they don't, but they need to find a way to get over that. He's your best player. He's one of the best players in the NFL, top 3 defensive players, I would say, in the NFL. He's going to be that way for the next few years. He's going to be on your roster the next few years. You've got to get him signed to a long-term contract, period, end of story. You can't trade this guy. You've got to get him signed to a long-term contract. He is that player. He's the guy you need on your defense. So whatever it is you have a problem with, you need to figure it out. And we don't know any specifics about if he's truly wearing thin. What is wearing thin? Him going on his podcast and talking all the time? I don't understand. I don't get this. But figure out a way, get him signed to a long-term deal and move on.
There have been instances where he has stiff-armed the media. That doesn't, I mean, why would the team care about that? There are plenty of
They
players that don't show up for their media responsibilities, and that's a matter between the league and the player, not the team and the player. He did criticize the coaching staff when he finally broke his silence after the embarrassing loss to the Green Bay Packers. I mean, so what? Again, it's Micah Parsons. You deal with it. And there are some that think that this is a clumsy effort by the Cowboys to drive down his price. Like, it's not gonna matter. And this is one of the big reasons why I believe that the Cowboys still haven't figured out how to handle young star talent. They wait too long.
Yeah.
They are too cheap. They are short-sighted. They think that being a member of the Cowboys has some inherent value. They should get credit for at the bargaining table. And it all started with Dak Prescott. The way they handled his contract, and I feel like history is repeating itself with CeeDee Lamb, and it's going to potentially repeat itself again with Micah Parsons, and they have a problem that may result in Dak Prescott walking away next year as a free agent. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.